Granite and Meth is going to be a very interesting matchup. We had a chance to speak with both of the teams. Let's take a listen to what they had to say about this match.
I think Granit Gaming is fairly inconsistent. They can take maps off of the better teams if they get their comfort picks, but I think in the match against us, it will mostly depend on how well we play. So if we play like we have for the past 2 weeks, we might lose, but if we actually play like we used to, we should win. I think Memecraft is actually mechanically playing pretty well. He has his few comfort picks, like Hanzo, for example, where he often carries them in a lot of the games, so I think we might have to watch out for that in draft.
I think Method is generally a good team, and before the second ban came in, they were actually looking really strong, and even against us, where they took us down 3-0. I think the series will look very different from last series. We're gonna step it up compared to the time. And also, compared to last weekend, we're gonna bring some good drafts and solid gameplay and see how it goes for us. And we have a good chance at winning the series, I'd say.
Cadler, you know, one of the things I love about EU is just the unabashed honesty. Nichols like, if we've been playing like we have the last couple of weeks, we might lose, but this definitely, if we play to our strengths, we can take this series. And I largely agree. Coming out of the Western Clash, we've definitely seen something of a faltering strategy for Method. But if they do tighten things up, they are a titan in his bracket.
It's actually really funny for me that you say that, because I had the same discussion with Tim a couple of times where he just came in and was like, they just said that they might lose. Like, what are they talking about? It's like, yeah, I mean, they're realistic here. They're the underdogs, so there's a very good chance. So it's really a huge cultural differences from Europe to North America in that sense. But yeah, I mean, they know where they stand. This is basically what it comes down to, and they also know how important this is. So both of the teams are now in that weird space where Granite knows if they have a good day, they can take the series. The same is true for Method, who are coming in here as a favorite, but given their struggles lately, I mean, Mopsio on Leftovers has a lot of faith actually in Method right now. He feels they're not only going to take down Granite, but they're also capable of taking down Team Liquid. So he thinks that they're going to be back on that path. Then again, he has that really close relationship with ADRD. So obviously he's going to cheer for them, helps them out too in their own standings. So we're going to see if all of that faith is really justified or if Granite Gaming comes out swinging today.
Well, for NA, Crone's kind of the prophet of the region. Maybe Mopsio's the prophet of EU. We're about to find out. Game number 1. Let's see where we're going, Caldor.
With Crone, it's all that hair. Mopsio just shaved his off, so he's probably wrong.
He's one of us now.
Yeah, exactly, one of us. We can inform Team Karazim again. I mean, we have Hazops. We have, like, Team Karazim is getting strong. When was it? When Kenma was around 2015? We had a full Team Karazim picture, but then all of a sudden they grew hair again, and the team just fell apart. But now I think we can feel the 5-man again.
They abandoned the principles. Game number 1, Method, taking us to Tomb of the Spider Queen. Last week we saw Granite Gaming, phase roll 20. Interesting match, to say the least. So I think Method came back here with that psychological aspect in mind. They love those heavy rotations. When we see Bad Benny coordinate successfully with the rest of the team, his Diablo play in particular has impressed me. If he gets that Shadow Charge in, if he gets a Storm Bowl on Muradin, somebody's going home.
I mean, a lot of this is going to come down to drafting. It's one of those things that Method talks a lot about, that they feel right now they're in this space where normally they have their own meta, and then there's also the league meta. And usually they have these two aspects that they can mesh. But now both of that overlap, and that makes their drafting so much harder, because you basically get double the value out of any ban against Method, since you ban out their personal meta, but also it's a European meta ban that you have. So they really struggle a bit with that right now and try to find their identity around it. So drafting is going to be highly important here, especially from Granite Gaming's perspective. But the map at least gives an advantage to Method. They feel at home here. They have a 5-2 track record, whereas Granite Gaming is sitting at a 1-5, not really too strong. And an interesting first ban coming out of Method, actually going straight for the front line here, banning out Johanna.
That can be the high wire act of defining your own meta. Over on NA, Octalysis has had such a successful run lately, running all these oddball main tank Zul comps to the point where they're becoming the meta. We saw main tank Zul show up yesterday.
Main tank Uther.
to great effect. Method, though, the mad scientist ADRD always comes up with these really interesting drafts, but I do think that they've played a more standard, straight-up game of late.
Yeah.
So I do think there's dealing with something of an identity crisis.
I mean, Toronto also is going to shake things up slightly right now because it changes the priority in terms of bans and picks again, and that might be something that works in their favor. We have Toronto now for the 4th time already as a 5th time actually as a first pick, was banned out in the rest of the games. I'm still very interested to see some of those bans. I mean, Medivh gets banned out against Granit Gaming, against Method. Makes a lot of sense. You don't necessarily have to ban Abathur here, since, yes, Method has run it with ADR in the past on Tomb. But A, it didn't work out, and B, Tomb is not really the map for Abathur. But right now, I feel there's a lot of heroes still open that we oftentimes see banned out. And we have Genji still in the mix, for example. Sergeant Hammer is making her way in. Diablo is still up and can be played. Not even a priority on Deckard Kanan from Granit Gaming. There's a lot happening here that I really, really like.
Yeah, I like leaving Abathur open. This is a battleground where you could deal with the Worm if he does get picked up in the back end of the draft. I like Garrosh against Tyrande because of his trait, getting the armor. That's something of a counter to what Tyrande brings to the table, especially in the early game with the Hunter's Mark. We'll see what kind of value to get off of that. And the Aurel's a really solid counter too. 35 armor consistently against Tyrande. It could be much more difficult to get takedowns at Granit Gaming's thinking about.
It's also an interesting touch now when we're looking at Granit Gaming's draft that we have for the first time really a double support now on their end. Every other team that we've seen in Europe running Tyrande actually ran as a solo support, whereas now we have Malfurion mixed together with that. Can have an impact on the build that she runs, but it also gives a tremendous amount of sustain now towards Granit Gaming. And they struggled a bit in the past with this particular map, but I'm really curious to see how this is going to work out now. Method is going to play something that we have seen from Fnatic a few times. The combo with Ana and Li Ming with the nano boost is super, super powerful. It was played a little bit different though from Fnatic, where they are usually trying to set it up around a stun. So normally what we are seeing is either a sleep dart or a stun starting the entire chain off, the second one coming in, and then Li Ming using that as a bullseye and just going straight for the kill here with a combo. So that oftentimes was the case how Fnatic was trying to run it. Method still leaning towards Ana here. Needs to be careful of Stitches, but outside of the Stitches pick, there's not really a lot that Granit Gaming has that can jump into the backline and threaten her.
Yeah, when you see Ana and then the Stitches shows up afterwards, it's like, all right, so the name of the game obviously is to get to that back line. I feel like Granit Gaming have the higher burden of execution overall because the hook has to follow up with the Malfurion route if you want to get the easy point-and-click stun from the Lunar Flare on Tyrande. It's not like a Stormbolt from Murden where it's like, all right, that person's right there, go ahead and click that. So some coordination beforehand, before the hook comes out, has to be there for Granit Gaming, and I've seen them kind of struggle with that level of execution. So I like this for them because at game one, they're just like, hey, we can pull this off right out of the gate.
I'm still wondering a bit if I would have liked Genji over Junkrat. ADRD plays both, but if you look at the side of Granit Gaming, I think if you play with Genji, he can really start threatening Tyrande, he can threaten Malfurion, he can threaten Phoenix, especially when Li Ming is starting to fire away with nano boosted and get some damage in here. Doesn't really offer you the same wave flare that Junkrat has, and there's a lot of cool poke damage, so they're setting it up more so as Li Ming being the finisher and trying to get them the resets here. But I actually expected, given the map, that ADRD would lean towards Genji, just simply because those quick transitions between the lanes at the beginning of the game can really help them to apply pressure and maybe get that first turn in going and play it from there. Don't really mind the Junkrat by any means. I mean,
Right.
we've seen him a lot lately. I personally prefer it's great with a displacement that you have through Garrosh plus Junkrat. I still somehow expected that, given the setup, they would try and get some value out of the quick rotations with Genji instead, though.
Well, I think it speaks to a more conservative mindset from Method. You could go for the Genji, you could go all on the offense, but there's a lot of value to be had out of the Junkrat. If the hook does land from Stitches, you can throw the mine out to potentially disrupt and be able to escape. But we're about to find out. Game number one of this best of 5. Over on the left, we have Method. Bad Benny's on Garrosh, ADRD's playing Junkrat, Ethereal's on Urel, Nick will be playing Li Ming, and Curson's going to be slinging those shots with Ana.
And over to the right side of the map, their opponent, Granit Gaming, fighting to avoid the Crucible here with Memecraft on Phoenix. We're having Dark Mog in this game on that off lane, so to say. He's playing Tirana this time. Wolfjaw on Malfurion, Raid Boss on Hammer, and Ananda on Stitches. So definitely for the first time now, we're having that double support set up with Darkmorg actually taking Tyrande here. So no dedicated side laner in their setup. They can use Memecraft on the solo lane if they really want to. Darkmorg still speccing into the Celestial Attunement on level 1. So you have that double cleanse available to yourself. Really powerful against a lot of the tools that we are seeing on the other side. But it's going to be an interesting game with especially Anna on the side of Method starting to shake things up a little bit. And it's really important for Curson in particular that he starts getting those sleep dart or piercing dart stacks just so he has the extended range and can stay a little bit farther away.
Unless there's a hard commitment to having Phoenix down in the bot lane as the solo laner, which is what we've been seeing so far, Granit Gaming is going to have a much more fluid rotation in at least the earlier portions of the game. I really want to see how Method respond to that. There's a nice hook, but Bad Benny's like, that's fine by me. Goes ahead and throws Stitches. There's the Lunar Flare afterwards. Bad Benny low on health. Is Anna going to be able to sling those shots enough? Carson just misses that, but no take that.
Yeah, Wolfter actually body blocking Stitches here a bit by accident. But this is one of the setups that we oftentimes saw in the past. Nice throw. There's the dart and the kill. Well done. First kill against Stitches as Method is starting to take the 1-0, but Bad Benny nearly falling. He's being kept alive by Anna though. Nice recovery.
Danger is Bad Benny's middle name. He's like, my cooldown for the throw is a little bit shorter than your hook, so I'm going to chase you down. Definitely to the surprise of Granit Gaming. First blood over the Method with a composition that I don't really think is necessarily geared towards getting those early takedowns, especially in the face of the hook and the Tyrande Lunar Flare Hunter's Mark follow-up. Raid Boss is going to rotate down towards mid to try to stop this advance. Method, they're in a pretty good spot right now.
And here we have the combo coming out again. As Nanda throws the hook, immediately Darkmorg is there with the attempt to get the stun out. And that is something that has been played, especially at the beginning of Heroes of the Storm, a lot. You had a lot of players trying to find exactly that synergy that you're seeing there. It was later on replaced by Malfurion, who always threw the roots out after hook, but now we have both in that team. So the thought process is still the same. You isolate a target with a hook, and then immediately you're trying to lock them down with the roots and with a stun and blow them to pieces. And that is something that they have to do somehow. The one thing that's missing a little bit from that is that burst damage that usually comes with the composition like it. They have Phoenix, who can later on use a Salvo, and they also have Hammer, but they don't have a mage burst damage like Li Ming or Jaina that was traditionally used with that composition.
Well, in the early game with Phoenix being down in the bot lane, that issue is just further exacerbated. There's a nice hook from Nanda, but Nick's going to be able to teleport, tower, and the middle part of the wall was taken down. So Method are definitely starting to pull ahead in the overall grand scheme. Ethereal's applying consistent pressure on the Memecraft. Phoenix is a solid solo laner, but Urel's going to be pretty hard to deal with no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix has a huge advantage that he has the shield mechanic that he can always use whenever Urel is making some plays here. And of course, the fact that the hero is ranged really helps. It should really put him into a spot where he's not going to lose out too much. He won't be threatened at the bottom lane, except if there is a big rotation. The one thing that I personally now also find kind of interesting is that Nanda specs into a full tank Stitches. I think given the fact that he has a double support behind him, could have really helped him to just go into a slam build instead and get some extra damage out. But especially with the amplified healing as the level 4 talent, given the fact that he gets healing from 2 sources, that should make him incredibly difficult to kill. And yeah, it's really rough to go through, especially later on in the game when he also has his level 1 talent, the Hungry for More, stacked up.
I'm with you. It is something of a surprise. Stitches with 1 support is pretty hard to take down. I thought we'd see a slam build, but I guess he's thinking with the Ana heroic, the added damage from Li Ming could be a problem. He's just trying to stand out there and eat the damage to set up a play potentially for Phoenix or Sergeant Hammer. We'll see. Memecraft dealing with more pressure from Ethereal. Neither team have really made a commitment to a camp until now by sending Li Ming down to the top.
I'm a little bit more surprised even that we are not seeing a lot of globes taken by Nanda so far. Nice. There comes, again, not perfectly aligned the root, but he had his Indomitable active anyway, so he could move out. But coming back to my original point, in terms of regeneration globes, he doesn't really get a lot out of the rotation that they're running. He's currently sitting at 6 stacks. It's not atrocious, but I expected him to even be a little bit better on that side. Starting to make that rotation work in his favor now. I mean, we are on Tomb. It's one of the reasons why you pick so many globe talents here, just simply because the quick rotations between the lanes that are so close together on such a small map allow you to get those very, very quickly.
There's another nice hook. The root is going to follow up. Bad Benny throws Nanda into the deep end of the pool. There's the Junkrat mine afterwards. The chase is on for Nanda. He's going to throw that root down. Junkrat trying to further isolate Stitches. They do come away with the second takedown. He just wanted to play.
Yeah, he wanted to play and he got a little bit more than he asked for. There's the second kill as Malfurion gets blown out of the water. Bit unfortunate for Granit. Late rotation on their part. It was a huge commitment by Method when it comes to numbers, but Granit didn't rotate up quickly enough. So now the third kill actually for Method, taking a very solid lead here. And with them now dominating the 2 turn-in points, they can also work on that first turn-in. It looks like it's going to be completed by Adiati.
I feel like Granit was just caught a little flat-footed. They saw the throw from Garrosh and they're like, okay, I can just walk away. They didn't really seem to account for the Junkrat mine displacement afterwards. That's the second time Stitches thought that the team fight or the skirmish was effectively over. And then a follow-up, but oh no, Junkrat gets found in the mid lane. Granit Gaming, they're going to cost them.
Perfect move. This is ideal for Granit Gaming. You're in a situation where you're already behind in experience, your opponent drops the objective on you, and you get the kill just as that happens. Unfortunately for them, Darkmook missing the stun. That was a great hook. If that follow-up hits, Nick is dead. He was already on basically half health as the hook connects here. All they needed was that stun to set in, and that would have been another kill secured. So a bit unfortunate from Granit Gaming's perspective. Still gives Method a bit of push power though.
Now let's put some English on these hooks. Like here, managed to wrap it right around the Web Weaver. Method's gonna have to worry about that. Web Weaver pushing down the bot, supported by 3 members of Method. Another hook from Nanda just misses Athero, who jumps back into the thick of things. They're gonna go through this wall, get the second tower, and back away. They are well on their way to a heroic advantage right now.
Exactly. The level 10 should maybe even allow them to get the second turn in because they're close. They're not there yet. They need 16 additional gems. But that's something that you can grab if you work on these waves. There's one to be taken in the mid lane, one at the top already, so they're really getting there. If they make that a quick play, they can maybe even get that second turn in. Granit is of course going to try and interrupt that, and they have a fair amount of tools, through the Owl, the Hook, and also the Moonburn. So they should maybe be able to delay this. It's half a level, and once that's the case, they can try and contest, maybe get their own turn in, and start to come back in experience.
I want to see the composition dynamics for Granit Gaming going into the late game. Normally when you take Sergeant Hammer, you want to have a composition that kind of protects her and stands around her. And yeah, they have double support. But Stitches is actively bringing people towards Sergeant Hammer who may not exactly want that. So when they go to push, when they do get a Web Weaver, I really want to see how Stitches handles himself, because it's going to be kind of awkward in that.
I mean, they have a lot of stuns that they can play around that, and especially with Putrid Bile that you can pop when someone makes the engage. Hammer has disengagement tools too. I don't think she's going to be in too much trouble here. Raid Boss normally knows exactly how far he can go on a hero like this. But the push potential they have, as you touched upon that just a second ago, is fantastic. Just simply because they have so much that they can really emphasize the Web Weaver push as it stands. Benny already eating a lot of damage here, and you can really tell that Granit Gaming is now working on that turn in. Darkmook has 30 on his own and nearly completes it, but dodges out on the grenade that Curson throws at him.
Method's doing a really solid job of defending this top turn-in. Darkmook might be a little frustrated. He's like, I got 30 gems, I'm trying to turn these in, man. But the follow-up poke from Method is going to be enough. Bad Benny steps forward, throws Nanda back in. There's the sleep afterwards. The stun from the Lunar Flare lands on the Bad Benny, who starts to back away. Calor, these teams are trading bars right now.
Yeah, very little heroics have been committed thus far. We have seen the Wave of Force thrown out a bit, but that's already it. So no Putrid Bile commitment or anything. Again, just creating space here. And the important part is also that Kirsten has 13 stacks on his piercing dart, so he already has a range increase that he really helps him to stay outside of the hook range. We're seeing them at 14 now, so he's actually going to work towards the second quest reward. As we have 17, there's the Putrid Bile, they're going in, Stitches is in trouble. The Riptire with a kill confirmed, but we also have another one coming in as the 1-for-1 trade is working out here. Both of the frontliners gone.
The front line of both teams are at each other's throats, and it ends up being a 1-for-1 trade. Bad Benny's loving throwing Nanda out of position, but the follow-up damage from Granit Gaming, the armor reduction from Tyrande, proven to be something of a problem. Curson has to really position themselves in a way to get those shots on the Stitches or on a Garrosh in those critical moments. Otherwise, we could see a lot more 1-for-1 trades like that.
Yeah, Darkmook again also with the attempt to turn in, but continuously interrupted. But that experience lead that Method was holding for so long is starting to shrink away here. Granit Gaming is closing in every time they get another wave, and now they are trying to block shots again. Here comes a great move, nice hook, but not enough damage. The sleeping dart really making sure that Hammer could not get those last few hits in. But it also brings me back a bit to my point that I made at the beginning of the game. Usually with that type of composition, a Stitches into a Malfurion root or a Tyrande stun runs with burst damage. You have little of that. It's not that you don't have a damage output, but that quick idea of getting a hook into a stun, into a tremendous amount of damage through a Jaina, through a Li Ming, through any kind of mage, even with Gul'dan we've seen it a few times, just isn't quite there. Junkrat should have fallen here, and he was able to get away because Ana was securing that with a sleeping dart, and there was not enough burst damage on the side of Granit.
And what's really interesting about that is that in those situations, I feel like the situation plays into Granit Gaming's hands. They can just go fishing. There's the taunt going in. 36 gems on the line. Darkmok is going to get taken down. There's the displacement mine on and on to eats a tower shot. 26 gems is going to drop his road down. Salvo is going to push back Bad Benny and Ethereal. But here comes the Riptide. They're looking for more.
Good salvo on the side of Memecraft. That was an important one, forcing them back. But now in terms of gems, this Granit Gaming is losing every single time this happens. A few. They're not losing many, but it just adds up. And they're in trouble now because Memecraft barely warps out of harm's way. In this case, 5 kills against 2. Another hook thrown out by Granit, but not connecting this time.
Positioning is so important in these scraps. You can see it on both sides. We saw Bad Benny just narrowly avoid that hook, but was only a step away from throwing Phoenix out of position, confirm another takedown. That pushback from Method allows them to get another set of web weavers, even talent tiers, but they could look to start moving in and take a serious run at these structures.
On 13, there are so many talents that come in that are just super important. I mean, we're talking Purifying Darts, for example, on Ana. That's great if you want to remove a stun, if you want. It works very similar to the Celestial Attunement. And with all the stuns and the roots, slows that are following up on those hooks, that's a great talent to take here, and really is going to help the survivability. The same is also true for Fleabag. I mean, the stuns and the roots that we're seeing outside of Garrosh, for example, can really be utilized, so that will activate the talent here. And I'm curious if Granit is able to now still get those kills. 16 is going to be great for them with Fishing Hook, but I think that 13 talent here favors Method like a lot.
I think we need to see them get a bit more offensive and aggressive before level 16 because they're just slowly starting to lose out in the overall grand scheme. Nanda is going to get knocked out of position. Junkrat is going to vanish off the battleground in a shotgun from Sergeant Hammer. Sends Li Ming back to base. Ethereal trying to put damage on the Memecraft to respond. But right now, that's the aggression I was hoping to see out of Granit Gaming.
Fantastic setup. Another kill, and that is a massive amount of gems lost from Method. That was actually so well done. Memecraft kicks the perfect salvo off. It all starts with an isolation on Stitches, but with his build and everything there, he's just popping the Putrid Bile. They keep him alive. They get the quick kill against Junkrat, and from there on, it's just all the squishes that are falling. Li Ming dies, Junkrat dies, and then the late kill against Urel. Even a bit of a staggered death now that allows Granit Gaming to control the map, and also they should be able to get their own turn in with this, but they're waiting a bit long. Kirsten is getting another couple of free stacks here. He's 2 away from completing the quest, and all of a sudden Method is with 5 on the map again. If they can interrupt that, then Granit Gaming... I'm honestly not happy with what just happened here. You get 3 kills and you don't get a turn in. I understand that you don't want to take it right away with your opponent already holding 16, but that is them playing with fire now.
It's a very interesting progression because you get 3 takedowns and at the end of it you're down a tier advantage and you're not able to turn in. You think there'd be more on the table overall. But Method showing their resilience. Bad Benny positioning forward aggressively to be able to help Kirsten deny that turn in. Even though they lost those 3 heroes, you have to commend Method's ability to stabilize and recover.
Now, there's a couple of arguments to be made. You don't have 16 yet, so sometimes you want to hold a turn in because you feel you don't get a lot out of it if your opponent has a talent advantage. But in the position they're in, with the amount of gems they hold, I think you can get that turn in, you can play it a bit safer at the beginning, and you will still take structures by default. That will give you a 16, and then you can push a bit harder, and you can try to work for the second turn in. The way they've been playing this is a huge risk. It can work out for them, but if they lose a team fight right now on that talent tier, and they lose, for example, the gems on Nanda's side, they're in trouble. I think they could have gotten more out of it if they played a bit more aggressive and didn't only go for that one camp they took. Granit needs to capitalize more on team fights they win and kills they take. It's a problem that they had against Roll20, and it's something that's shown here against Method now too.
Oh, a lot of damage is going in on the Biddy.
move.
Nanda's trying to further slow him down. There's the BFG coming in from long range. Memecraft is going to be able to follow up and take down Garrosh. A nice hook. Curson's like, whoa, I didn't think I was going to be here. 7 takedowns from Granit Gaming. You wanted them to get involved, and there they are.
That's a huge amount of gems lost again. That was perfect. That's exactly what they needed. The gamble that they took earlier is now paying off. Now they can get their turn in, and at that point, they need to push with Hammer, and this is the time when you want to take a lot. And look at the map. They haven't taken a single fort up to this point. Granit Gaming is going to take a tremendous amount of experience here and will take a significant lead. They're in a great position right now. That hook from Nanda against Ana of all heroes, that was awesome for them.
I'm pretty sure Curson's eyes jumped out of his skull when that hook landed. I don't think he was expecting that at all. Granit Gaming are in a position where they have back-to-back turn-ins ready and available. Whatever value to get off of this, they can stack up and do a lot more next time.
Siege Time Camp at the bot lane as well, pushing with this. This is the dream for Granit. This is really when you can put Method in a very awkward spot. You're not going to get a keep out of this, but you should get a significant lead in experience that will allow you to grab an early level 20 and maybe more. Here comes the isolation attempt against Stitches. The double support keeping him in play for now. Salvo comes out, and tremendous damage again on Urel. Popping down Defender. Not proc, but ADRD hooked and taken apart. That's the kill against Junkrat. And Granit Gaming is carrying that momentum deep into the heart of Method side of the map.
Nanda is showing up in a big way, landing these hooks consistently and setting up so many opportunities. You can tell ADRD was not expecting that. These hooks, after the first one, after the initial one, you see some lax positioning, some stationary movement. Nanda's there every time waiting.
Their best wave clear's gone. Junkrat is down, the best wave clear is eliminated. All of a sudden that push at the bot lane is getting even more value because there's just not enough wave clear to deal with it. And this is a keep. They shouldn't have lost a keep through that push, but with a kill against Junkrat, who can't use the Riptide, who can't use the wave clear against this, the keep goes down. Granit Gaming is half a level away from 20. They're in such a great spot. That 16 talent here that we talked about earlier is doing so much for them. Having the fishing hook available allows Nanda to just really put the fear into the hearts of his opponents.
Granit Gaming have gone into this series firing on all cylinders. I thought we might see something of a lackluster performance based off of last week, but they're proving me wrong immediately. Thero's going to be able to jump over the wall. Riptide goes out just to stall the advance. I was saying Granit Gaming is just going to get a back-to-back turn-in, and I thought then maybe they could go for keeps. To get that one already and to be this close to level 20, they could be looking for the knockout blood.
Yeah, they can definitely get another turn-in. They also can play it very smart with 20 around the boss. They eliminated the keep at the bot lane. That means you can siege up at the top side, you can threaten boss, and Method will have to react. They will have to send heroes to the top and try and make sure that boss isn't grabbed. But that allows the bot lane to push out. So all of a sudden, catapults are starting to threaten the bottom core, and then Method is split. They need to send someone down to deal with the situation, and that is the time window where Granit Gaming can maybe try and make a boss attempt. Also, if you force your opponent to at least meet your presence at the top side, Stitches hooks become so dangerous. So Granit Gaming has so many different ways they can play this. Around a turn-in, around a boss attempt, trying to capitalize on level 20. They have the chance to play this smart, or to try smart and slow, or try and be aggressive about it and force a team fight. There's so many avenues for them to win this game now.
And it's going to be difficult for Method to find a way around that. All the avenues that they have is what? A throw from Garrosh, maybe a mine from Junkrat. But those are things that Granit Gaming are going to see coming a mile away. So Method, they feel like they need to stick their neck out here and try to fight away from their structures to make something happen. But Urel getting taken out and dropping another bag of gems, not good for Method.
Yeah, not good at all. That URL kill was great, and that is something... You could see that Nanda wasn't even worried about the URL kill. They knew Phoenix would get that. He throws the hook to the left and tries to catch his second hero. That wasn't the case. But now they're even stacking those stuns. The hook comes out, and every time there's a root and there's a stun on the ground right away, Method is about to lose game one. If Granit Gaming doesn't make a massive mistake here, then Method is going to be done, and Granit Gaming is just pushing this in even harder. Middle keep is already about to be gone. Bottom is pushing towards the core. Here comes the attack against Nikki. Is down, so is Ana. Li Ming and Ana down with a double kill, and that should be game as Granit Gaming is mercilessly pushing towards the core.
That's going to slam the final nail in this bad boy. Game number one going over to Granit Gaming in decisive fashion. Anyone thinking this was going to be a 3-0 easily for Method? Granit Gaming says, we got another thing for you. They're looking rock solid right now.
Great game by Granit. Struggling a bit at the beginning of the game and not getting too much done, but then towards the mid-game, once that level 13 was in, that first fight, and then especially after 16, great performance, good hooks, the follow-up was there. Memecraft securing so many kills for them there. Really well done. And yeah, now we have a very interesting match on our hands, because this is a moment where everyone on Roll20 side watching the game is not going to be happy. They're looking at this, they're like, what are you doing? Turn this around and turn it around now, because we don't want to be in the crucible. But Granit Gaming and their fans are very, very happy about that first victory. That's exactly what they need to move out of the crucible range.
Stitches can be called a lot of things, but not too often can you say that he's surgical. Time and time again, we saw Nanda land the hook, not only on someone at the right moment, but on the right person. Junkrat, to stall the ability to stop the push down the bot lane, paved the way for the bottom keep and the 20 advantage, which ultimately allowed them to win the game. The hook on the Kirsten in the mid lane, also pivotal. When we see Nanda make plays like that, and you're dealing with double support, it's hard to find a response. You try to go in, you have added sustain that you're not used to dealing with, but you're also getting yanked out of position and just responding to what Granit Gaming is doing. They've had an incredible start to this series.
Yeah, there's also, I mean, I talked a bit about the amplified healing on Stitches that really allows you to take advantage of having the double support behind you. And the healing output that we've seen is actually tremendous. And it's not only, like, one of the biggest advantages that you have is that you have two heroes using their cooldowns on you. So it's not one hero that has to wait for the next ability to come up. You have continuous cooldowns coming in, and that really helped. We had a few isolation tools where there was a Garrosh stun, for example, and then we had a Junkrat mine afterwards, which really pushed it just far out. But outside of that happening, there's too many tools to keep him alive, especially after he completed his Hungry for More on level 1. The hit point pool is insane, and he had so many tools to use there. And 16 comes in, and then you're just a menace. Your opponent can't show up anywhere. They get a kill, and from that, normally, we even had the second hook connecting. They also started to find... I feel like at the beginning, they struggled a bit with the follow-up. There were so many hooks where the stun that we saw from Tyrande was just slightly out of range, just a little bit off to the side, and didn't connect. And then they found their rhythm, and all of a sudden, it's just root, it's the stun, and then it works out for them. But that was... good play. Looked a bit shaky at the beginning, but they found their stride, and now they have the lead in the series. So, great start. And Method has to ask themselves now, how do we come back from this? They remember the games against Monkeys now and against Roll20, and those were not good times. That was not a good weekend for Method, and they are probably a little bit afraid of that being repeated here today.
Yeah, they're definitely feeling some echoes of that. I think the power level of the overall comp from Granit Gaming just kind of scaled, because we did see Stitches go down a lot in the earlier portions of the game, but the amplified healing and the other things just kind of shored that up. So the same level of play was happening for Method, but Stitches was just that much more difficult to take down. Kyler, my question for you is, if you're Method, do you ban Tyrande?
Not necessarily. I mean, in the last game, we had a first pick on the side of... It depends a bit on who has first pick right now. I feel Tyrande is, at this point, so dominant that if you are not first pick, you want to ban her out, unless through the bans you are absolutely sure that you are going to get an absolutely fantastic 1-2. Sure. Then you could leave her open. But I think whoever is on... I feel for the next few weeks, we're going to see way more often that whoever is second pick will ban out Tyrande, just so that the opponent doesn't get it. Then again, Toon kind of caters a bit to that Stitches composition. It's where Dignitas brought it back a lot. We had Fnatic play it quite a bit there. So on other maps, maybe you can get away with different play when you have heroes that can jump into the backline. But what we're currently seeing is a lot of Maiev bans and Eve bans so that you can't get onto Tyrande. If that's the setup, then I think as a second ban you will have, or second pick, you will have to ban on Tyrande.
We're about to find out how this series is going to shape up. Game number 2.